Hi guys. Today I'm going to talk about smoking here in Korea. Who smokes, where do they smoke, how do they start, and why do they smoke? Now, if you've never stepped foot here in Korea, let me tell you, smoking is considered a very important thing here. To give you a percentage, I would say about 99% of the men here smoke. And for women, it's about 50-50. Now, back home, like in Canada or United States, it's illegal pretty much to smoke in any public area, restaurants or outdoors or whatever, right? But here in Korea, it's legal to smoke in a restaurant. There is no non-smoking section in most Korean restaurants. It's legal to smoke in a bathroom. You'll notice that in every toilet stall, the first thing a guy does is light up and smoke, while they use the bathroom. And another thing is that, the first thing you notice, if you step foot here in Korea, when you start walking, is you notice that guys like to walk and smoke at the same time. Now, let me talk about the restaurant first. If you go to a traditional Korean restaurant, you notice that most of the guys there are smoking while they're eating. Now, that smoke blows right in your face while you are eating as well. So that is one common thing that I really have to overcome here while I'm eating in a public restaurant. Another thing is, if you use the washrooms here in Korea, especially for guys, you notice that the toilets and all the bathrooms are filled with secondhand smoke. It's a very common thing to see spit in the front of your toilet seat, between your legs, because usually guys, they light up in the toilet stall and then they like to spit that loogie right in the middle of between your legs, and it is hella disgusting. And I've stepped on so many people's spit while I've used the toilets here in Korea. And finally, the sidewalks. Every public sidewalk here in Korea, you'll see guys just walking and blowing smoke in everyone's faces. Now, I'm not a smoker. That is my lifestyle choice. And if you smoke, that's fine. That's your personal choice, right? But if you are walking and blowing smoke in my face, then it becomes my business, right? And not just me, but everyone else that's using the sidewalks is affected by this secondhand smoke. You'll notice that, who else is walking on the streets? There's kids, there's students, there's pregnant mothers, there's babies, there's grandparents. All of these people are being affected by these guys who are smoking and walking at the same time here in Korea. Women in Korea, it's considered taboo to smoke for some reason, right? And usually they smoke when no one is looking. So it's really rare to catch a woman smoking here in Korea. They'll usually do it where no one can see them doing it. Now, this bugs the hell out of me most of the time, right? I try to ignore it, but this is a real issue for me here in Korea, dealing with this secondhand smoke. Now, you're asking, why is there such a large percentage of people who smoke here in Korea? Well, for guys, I always ask the question, when did you start smoking, really? And why do you smoke, right? So the first question is, when did you start? Now, usually the answer that I get from most guys is they started when they joined the army. Now, let me explain. Every guy here is obligated to join the army in Korea at a certain age, right? And when they are in the army, that is when they start smoking. Now, every guy in the army smokes for some reason. Now, this is, I've been told, a way to bond with your fellow mates here in Korea. So it's really hard to say no to smoking if you are in the army, right? If you don't smoke, they'll beat you up, or they'll outcast you, right? And it's not a good place to say no, especially when you are living in a Confucianist society where everything is based on group thinking and group movement, right? Individual is not a good thing here in Korea, right? Not like compared to back home. So yeah, it builds the bonding between workers or mates, right? So yeah, it's a really big issue. Like, if you want to be part of the group, you have to smoke as well as drink and think as a group, right? Move as a group. Now later on, when they finish the army and they're working and they're doing their jobs, you're asking, why do they smoke? Well, let me give you some examples of why do they continue to smoke. Now, I've met a few b-boys here in Korea, and I didn't notice this until I came here, but all b-boys smoke, right? Every time, like whenever they have a break, they run outside and they start huffing and puffing. And I asked them, like, why do you smoke? Like, why are you smoking all the time? And they said, it helps me to think, is what they say. They say that they get more creative and their mind starts to slow down when they're smoking. So part of smoking here in Korea is that it helps build that creative process, for one thing. Another thing is obviously stress, right? Korean guys are overworked, underpaid, and they are stressed all the time. If you notice, every guy, they're always busy and they're always stressed out. So they say smoking helps calm them down, right? So that's another thing. And then finally, the last reason why they smoke is because of that group culture, right? You notice that guys that smoke don't smoke alone. They smoke in groups. Now, I'll give you an example. Like, if you are working in an office, you are most likely to smoke outside with your team members, right? So it's very common here in Korea to see like 15 or 3 guys outside, standing around circling an ashtray and smoking and talking about business. So that aspect, that social aspect is very important here, to smoke and talk at the same time here in Korea, right? It builds communication, basically. And if you are not alone, most likely you are walking down a sidewalk, holding a cigarette, which is very common here in Korea. So this is just some idea of what it's like living here in Korea and dealing with all this smoke, right? And some solutions I want to give you if you are a non-smoker or you just can't stand secondhand smoke like I do. Usually the only solution that I can offer you, and I've asked many other people about this, like, how do you overcome like this crappy smoke, right? And they say, you just avoid it. Do what you can to avoid it. So if you see me here in Korea, you'll notice that I'm usually jogging down a sidewalk, because every guy who's smoking, I try to run around them and go in front of them. But then I see another guy, a few feet ahead of me, and he's smoking, puffing on a cigarette, right? It's so easy to spot them, right, with a cigarette in their hands. So usually I weave around, I duck and weave around a sidewalk here in Korea. So yeah, that is the only solution I can give you if you can't stand that smoke. So I hope this gives you a better idea of what it's like, here in smoking culture in Korea. Now, if you like or dislike anything that I've said here, please leave a comment down below. And please subscribe to this channel. There's a yellow button up above, you'll notice. And I would really appreciate it if you give me your comments, feedback, and support, because I am nothing here without you guys. So please, yes, subscribe, leave a comment, do whatever you can. Thank you so much. And that's all I have to say for now. I wish you a pleasant night, and I'll talk to you later. Alright? 사랑해요. Okay? Bye-bye.